Whitetail Rendezvous host Bruce Hutcheon welcomes you to episode number 135.
Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous podcast, where it is all about whitetail deer hunting tips, techniques, and the stories so you can become a more successful whitetail deer hunter. And now your host, Bruce Hutcheon.
We welcome to the show today Crosswinds Brand with Steve Clothier and Tim Roehrig. They have unveiled their new hunting product for the upcoming season, moisturizing, scent-making soaps and lotion for hunters. Crosswinds Brand LLC is a hunting products business started by two longtime friends and outdoor enthusiasts of northwestern Wisconsin. Over 11 months has been spent researching and formulating their soaps and now added a line of scent-masking lotions for this hunting season. Initially, they saw the need for high-quality, detergent-free soap that also had moisturizing properties and was able to mask human odors. We could not find anything available on the market, so we developed their own. Their current soap and lotion offerings include Black Earth, Cedar Swamp, Pine, and Wind. These soaps and lotions have been formulated to help hunters blend more effectively into their hunting environment, states Roehrig. The last thing a hunter wants to do is get winded and lose an opportunity of a trophy of a lifetime. Welcome to another edition of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutcheon. And folks, I'm really excited to connect you with a couple of guys that get some products coming out of Wisconsin, and it's a Crosswinds Brand, and they're launching a scented soap and lotion line for hunters today. And the two men are Steve Clothier and Tim Roehrig from Sherwood, Wisconsin. Steve and Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us, Bruce. We really appreciate it. Hey, Bruce, thanks.
You're welcome. So let's jump into it. We're going to talk about a lot of different things in the next half hour, guys, but let's talk about why did Crosswinds Brand start and where's it going?
Well, Crosswinds started, about 3 or 4 years ago. Tim and I have been avid bow hunters the last 20 years and using some of the products that were out there and just not happy with some of the soap products and causing, especially like during the rut when you're hunting several days in a row and you're jumping in the shower and your fingers start to crack and bleed and your skin starts to chafe and itch. So we decided that there's got to be a better way and there's got to be a solution. So we started trying to develop a better product and took about 8 months to try and formulate a better product that had moisturizing properties and scent masking properties.
So just tell me, guys, what's so special about the brand? I mean, you can go to Brass Pro Shop or Cabela's or any retailers, any place on the web, and everybody seems to get a better lotion or potion. And here you are saying, hey, wait a minute, our stuff is different. Let's share with the listeners why your stuff is different.
You know, in our mind, we kind of look at the product that is out in the market right now, and you know, the products that are out there, you say they're going to take away your odor, but the thing that we're going to say is that you cannot eliminate all human odor. And that's why so many hunters now are going to ozonics and they're going to other things, trying to cut down on the odor that is coming out of or off the human body as you're hunting. And, you know, with our products, we have 4 different scent masking soaps that can make it smell like a pine tree, can make it smell like, you know, dirt or earth if you're hunting agricultural land, can make you smell like a cedar swamp, or can just take the scent away if that's what you really choose. I know a lot of hunters really prefer that. What we want to say is that, number one, our products have been very, very successful in the field. And when you're looking at the products that are out there, I think that their products are designed for the hunters who want to go out and harvest deer. Well, we think our products are better because A, we have moisturizer in ours, so your skin feels good when you walk out in the field, and B, any odor that is leaving you and a deer is smelling, it's going to smell like the natural environment you're hunting in. And if we can do that, and we're saying that we can, you're going to be pretty successful in the field. And that's ultimately our goal, is to help hunters be as successful as possible when they're sitting in a stand.
Yeah, guys, name of our show is Whitetail Rendezvous, so we want to have a lot of rendezvous with whitetails in the field every fall. And give us a couple examples of where and you might have on video, but firsthand the product made a difference. Steve or Tim, share one or two of those experiences with us.
This past year I was sitting in a stand coming off of a marsh, coming up into a hayfield on the corner of a fence line where the fence line ran into the marsh. And I was not expecting the deer to come from behind me. And behind me was a bean field with a small island in the middle of it, probably about an acre big. And my wind was blowing that way, and I thought, man, the deer are going to come out of this marsh, and they're going to come walking into this field, and I was set up perfect. And I heard something behind me, and I turned, and there stood 6 does that were standing out in that field. My wind's blowing directly at them. And I had just put, I showered up before I went out in our wind soap, and I had just put some dirt lotion on my hands, and they are standing directly downwind of me. And at that point, I didn't know if there was a buck along or not. And this was earlier in the season, so I wasn't really expecting a buck along, with them for the ride. And they stood out in that field for probably 20 to 25 minutes. And as they stood there, every now and then the nose would perk up and they'd try getting a good whiff, of what was going on around them. And my wind was blowing directly at them. I mean, you could not get any more direct than what it was. And those deer walked directly underneath my stand, every single one of them, and walked down in the field and fed out in front of me for about 15 to 20 minutes. And not a single one moved, not a single one blew, not a single one stomped, nothing. And right there and then, I was saying, we have a great product on the market. Another great story, gone deer hunting this year, sitting in my stand, and a beauty buck came in downwind of me and got into about 40 yards. Well, I had to turn in my stand to my right. And any hunter knows if you're a righty, turning to your right is a tough shot. And that deer never moved. I ended up harvesting that buck, the nicest buck I've ever shot with the gun. And he was only about 40 yards away, but a beautiful animal, 4.5-year-old buck, and he never budged. And he was downwind of me for over 20 minutes as I turned in my stand and tried to get a shot off. And again, product sold me. Product should sell everybody else too, because it's good stuff.
Thanks for that, because you guys know that, marketing dollars, people spend not thousands, but millions of dollars in marketing products, and they're all out there. And it's time in the field that I think either makes a product or doesn't. That's been in my experience for the over 50 years of hunting whitetails. And I heard about your product when I was up in Wisconsin and talked to some guys, and then they were gracious enough to give me a sample of it. And my hunt was over when I got the sample, but I'll be certainly trying it next year and be able to give you testimonials. Do you have on your website testimonials where people can go and say, wait a minute, this is, Joe or Mary, and here's what they said about it?
Yes, definitely, Bruce. And, we may be kind of biased because we're the owners and it's our product, but the proof is in the feedback we're getting from people around the country that are using our products. And that proof is if you go to crosswindsbrand.com and you go and click on the gallery tab, there's all kinds of testimonials there with pictures of some of the awesome bucks as well as doe and a lot of nice deer that were shot the last couple of years by people using our products. And a wide range of ages too, so it's fun to see the kids, the young girls getting their first deer, as well as the young boys out on their youth hunts and using our products and also being successful.
During the warm-up, Steve and Tim, you both mentioned, family and friends and the importance of getting youth outdoors. Let's take a couple of minutes here and talk about that aspect of not only your business, but just of your family and friends.
Bruce, I don't know. Over the years, I've shot a lot of nice deer with the bow and with the gun, and my wall full of memories from hunts with Steve and with my dad and my grandfather. And I'm going to tell you what, I took my daughter out this year for the first time, and going through hunter safety with her and then getting her out in the field. I truly, truly believe that if you can get your son or daughter involved in hunting and get them out in the field, there is no greater feeling in the world when they have a chance to harvest a deer or harvest a deer. And the time I spent with my daughter this year in the field, I would give, if somebody said I'd give you $1 million of that time with your daughter, I would take the time with my daughter. And I honestly mean that. Just anytime you can get a child out, young child out in the field and get them outdoors, the conversations we had while we were in, sitting in the ground blind and whispering back and forth, or even just on the way out to the stand or the way back, or even the truck ride home. And one of the best conversations I had with my daughter was we were putting a stand up, and we got the stand all put up. We were talking about, why we put the stand there. And we started talking just about her life. And I'm telling you that was my daughter in a long time. And I would say that it's brought us closer together. And, I love my daughter, and I just think that we as a group of men and women who enjoy the outdoors, I don't know if there's any greater pleasure we can take than getting our kids involved in that and getting them outdoors and experiencing what we all love to do.
How do we do that? How do we get the youth of today to get away from their devices and spend time just outdoors? Maybe not hunting, but just taking a walk, throwing a worm under a bobber or taking pictures, of deer or just critters. How do we do that?
Bruce, I just saw a study that I think it was 67% of all middle to high schoolers, what they wanted for Christmas. What was the one thing they wanted for Christmas more than anything? And I was blown away by this, but the one thing they wanted was more time with their parents. And I think we underestimate how important and how much time they want to spend with us. We have to want to spend time with them and include them in what we're doing. And you know what? There may be times when they blow a big buck for us, or even they blow an opportunity at a deer. But those are the memories you'll never forget, and that's a beautiful part of hunting. I think you tell them this is what we're going to do, and once they're out there, I think they enjoy the moment. And I think they might let you know that this is not the cool thing to do, but deep down, I think it's what they want. And I think as a generation of people with kids, we just have to take them outdoors and let them know how the beauty of the outdoors, the fun of the outdoors, and then the special moments that you can share with them in the outdoors.
And I think also that first time you take them out, you don't want to go out and make them sit for 4 hours. I think you just gradually get them exposed to that experience. And maybe that first time you just go out and you have some fun and have some laughs and not worry too much about hunting. Maybe just go out for an hour and sit and look at nature and explore and show them some things.
Earlier you said something about your grandfather and fathers, and to me that rang the bell, called the hunting tradition. So let's spend a couple minutes, guys, talking about the hunting tradition in each of your lives.
Well, we've got a hunting camp up north of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and I've been going up there with my dad and my brothers for the last 35 years about. And it's always, been a tradition to go up to deer camp, and it's not so much about the hunting, it's about the camaraderie and being able to see those old friends that you see, once or twice a year at deer camp, and hang out and tell stories and laugh and break bread and just have a really good time. if you see deer and you shoot some deer, which we typically did years back when there were deer up in that area, that's changed now with the wolf populations and bear populations and coyotes. But, that was just a fringe benefit, shooting deer. It's all about just getting together and bonding and that camaraderie.
Bruce, on my end, I guess I started hunting pheasants with my grandfather probably at about 7 years old. He was already taking me along with him, a field. And, then my father, when I was 10, took me gun deer hunting with him, and I didn't carry a gun. I just sat with him, and, we sat out there and again, shared a lot of memories with my dad and shared a lot of memories with my grandfather. And, my grandfather's passed away. And I think some of the best things that I have in my heart yet are those memories of he and I have field, hunting pheasants, hunting grouse, and whitetail hunting. And my grandfather taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about, stand placement and reading sign and just what to look for. And to this day, I think Steve will attest, I am meticulous when I walk out in the woods, and I kind of, we kind of joke with each other sometimes, but he was kind of the one who taught me the way that I hunt today, and I wouldn't be here without him.
Let's share a couple specific examples that you've taken along for many, many years that your grandfather did teach you.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's just south of when we grew up in Wisconsin, there's a channel with a marsh. And we were down setting stands one day, and my grandfather said, now, if you were looking right here at the geography of this land, where would you set your stand? And, I was young, and I thought I'd set it over there because, when I pointed to a clump of trees, and there were some hardwoods there, and up on a little ridge, and he said, that would be a bad spot. And we kind of went through the geography, and he said, I would put my stand right there. And I said, why? And the river, the channel kind of came down to a point and narrowed down to about 7 feet wide there. And then from there, it opened back up to about 15 to 20 feet wide. And he said, every deer that wants to get to the other side of that is going to hit that choke point right there. And is going to cross the river right there. And he said, there's one tree right over there. And he pointed to a tree, and he said, you put your stand there, and you're going to see deer. And he set his stand on the other side of that choke point. And the first night out with my grandfather, I think we counted 36 deer that crossed at that choke point. And, I look at that today, and I'm always, we have a stand up north that Steve and I both harvested a buck off of. We call it the Narrows. And, just a few years ago, and it's a similar thing. And that lesson that he taught me back when I was 12 and 13 came in handy when I was, 38 years old, sitting up north with Steve, setting up a stand, and we both harvested bucks off that stand as a result of that knowledge.
Isn't that great? I mean, that's a tradition of hunting, and deer camps are great, but as hunters, somebody has to share that with you, or you'll never get it. I firmly believe that you can't get that out of the books because you can't see it, you can't visualize it, you can't smell it. And people talk about funnels and pinch points and transition areas and hunting the edges, but there's so much out there. You have to break it down to, okay, what do these deer really want to do here, and then figure it out. And you only can learn that from other people.
Exactly. You have to put the time out in the woods. It's, especially with bow hunting, you need to be out there, scouting and spending the time in the woods. It's not something you just go out and bag that big buck the first time you're out. You need to have experience under your belt, and you need to work at it. And I always wonder, some of these kids during the youth hunt that shoot these monster bucks, and you think, boy, that's awesome, but where'd they go from here? They're 12, 13 years old. They've already shot a beautiful trophy, and they'll probably never top that in their lifetime.
Yeah, and the other thing that we're talking about here, Bruce, is just learning from your mistakes. And I think that's a key lesson for kids to learn, and I think for every one of us. How many times are we successful today because we learned from a mistake we made in the field, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago? And I think Steve he kind of had a story a few years ago where he heard a nice buck behind him and turned, and didn't turn with his weapon in his hand, and that big buck walked by him and got by him. I'll let Steve talk to you about that one.
Yeah, it was actually a gun deer experience where I positioned my backpack that I carried out with me, because during the gun deer hunt, we try and sit out all day because you never know when that trophy's going to walk by. And I had positioned my backpack in the wrong place on my tree. I was up on a tree stand, and the buck came behind me where I didn't think the deer would be coming out of, and there it was, and interfered with my ability to shoot. So it's pretty disappointing because it was a nice buck. But you learn from those mistakes and you move on.
One thing, I've learned the hard way is figuring out, I call them firing solutions. You're up in a tree stand and you really do a 360 to say, okay, if Mr. Wonderful comes from here, all the way around the circle, how am I going to do it without getting busted? Because as soon as you move fast, you're cooked, you're done. So you have to figure that out. And I try to, on each stand that I sit, that's one of the first things I do is I figure out my firing solutions. I hunt with a crossbow. I don't hunt with a compound or a recurve anymore. And I still hunt with my rifle or muzzleloader. But, I try to figure out the solution. So it isn't a surprise that, I can't get that shot because, the twig there or whatever. And once you know that, then you have confidence of where you can shoot and you can't shoot. So that's a lesson learned I'd just share with our listeners.
Yeah, it's kind of like being on the sports field, on the baseball field, and there's a runner on first and second. There's two outs, and you need to know in advance where you're going with that ball and all the scenarios, so you're prepared.
Yep, exactly. Now you guys were laughing during the warm up of the show, and you got some stories of over the last 20 years. And folks, Steve and Tim have been hanging out together for 20 years, and that's probably why they started this business. They said, if we're going to hang together, we might as well make some money out of this adventure. So, Steve and Tim, why don't you share a couple of your good stories?
Oh gosh, Steve and I have had a lot of good times together, and I think one of the funniest moments was a few years ago. We were up in Rhinelander bow hunting, and we were sitting on the edge of the potato field, and it was the first week or two of bow season, and there was a doe up there that we've had a number of run-ins over the last few years with, and she's a little cranky, and man, is she tough to hunt. I mean, if she comes out, she's blowing and snorting, every little thing. There are times when she's out in the middle of a potato field and she's blowing and snorting and she's looking on the other end of the field away from us, and she's blowing and snorting at, we don't even know what. Most of the time we think it's the wind and she smelled maybe a raccoon 2 miles away. We don't know. We joke about all the things she's blowing and snorting at, but she was on the edge of the field and she did not smell us. We were there and we were sitting there going, man, we fooled her. And if you could fool her, that might be bigger and better than fooling a big mature whitetail buck. And Steve started to get down out of his stand. It was just dark, and Steve started to get out of his stand, and she took off running right at him. And Steve ended up running back up his tree, up his ladder. And I am on the other end of the field just dying. I am rolling on the ground. So, she takes off running into the woods, and we meet out there, and Steve looking at me, and I got tears running down my face. And it's not funny. I said, no, it's not funny. It's hilarious, man. She chased me back up the tree stand. That's funny stuff.
Did you ever get that doe? Have you ever gotten her, or is she going to die of old age?
Yeah, I don't think we ever got her.
We never harvested her, and I'm going to tell you what, that was one of the toughest deer Steve and I have ever hunted. Because we always said if we see her, we're shooting her because she was such a pain in the butt. If there was anything out of place, anything, she would let every deer in a 4 square mile area know that something wasn't right. And so we always said, we're going to harvest her if we shoot. And she never gave us that opportunity. Well, she did chase Steve around, so that was all worth it.
Yeah. That's fine. Okay, Steve, your turn.
Well, I'm having funny stories about Tim, unfortunately, but we have another experience where we had disco deer one night where same location. We're up in Rhinelander hunting a field edge. It's actually a potato field. So a lot of deer come out of the field eating the little potatoes that were left over, little crunchy potatoes. But I have a tendency to sit kind of late and not come out of my stand, and Tim is usually waiting for me. And one particular night, I had a small buck come in, and it was after dark, and it was right below my stand, and the thing would not leave. And of course, I didn't want to come down out of my stand and have it see me come out of my stand. So I sat there, and Tim was texting me, and finally I got up my headlamp and started shining the light on it and flashing the light on it, and Tim could see from where he was standing this light being shown on this shining on this buck, which looked like it was at a discotheque or something. And finally Tim kind of walked and made a noise, and eventually the buck it ran off, but it was pretty hilarious because it just would not budge, and I was doing all kinds of lights at it and everything else. And
I thought Steve was trying to do a techno rave for deer out in the woods. What are you doing?
That would have been kind of funny if you had video. It would have been. Yeah. It might have gone viral.
You would think with all those lights shining on it and flashing up and down that he would run, and the deer just stood there and looked at him like, "What are you doing?" And I'm sitting like 100 yards away going, "What is he doing?" So I tell you what, that was a funny night too.
Isn't it great just to sit around and tell stories and build memories? And, you talked about deer camp and the hunting traditions, and you wind all up, and we're kind of coming to the wind down. But before I give you the time to give some promos, I can understand now how all your experiences came into saying, hey, we got to find something that's going to work, and let's just spin it back to, Crosswinds and share with the people why you firmly believe that one, scent control, you have to do it, and two, again, why your product is so successful.
Scent control, I think it's vital. And if you're going to hunt mature whitetail, if you're hunting any whitetail, but particularly mature whitetail, you're not going to get, particularly bow hunting, you're not getting in range of a mature whitetail without using scent control. They know every inch of the woods that they're walking in, and they know every smell. And if you're not going to be scent conscious, people will say, well, I don't do that stuff, and I still see deer. My questions always are, number one, how far away are they? And number two, did you see a mature whitetail? I firmly believe that there are a lot of mature whitetails that hunters don't see because they got winded, they got a whiff of them before they ever got close enough for them to see. And, this year, hunting, and I think if you look at our Facebook page, there are a tremendous amount of people who have used our product or endorsed our product that shot some magnificently big whitetails and harvested some magnificent animals. I don't think you do that or have the ability to do that without having a really good product on you and being scent conscious. And the guys that are hunting out there, and we're not selling, product to pro staff. We have some guys who are on pro staff using our product, but the average Joe who's buying our product, the guys like Steve and I, this, in our minds, gives them an edge on every whitetail that they're hunting. And we are a firm believer in that. And I think, why do we believe that? Because the proof is in the pudding. And there are, if you look at our Facebook page, you look at our homepage, our adventure gallery, you're going to see a large amount of whitetails that have been harvested with our product. And I'm talking deer that were downwind, that were within 10, 20, 30 yards. And that is where you have a good product. Because if you can beat that nose and you can beat that animal on its home turf, you have something special there.
So let's roll right into your promo. You basically started off on it. Let's just finish that up and give shout-outs to, if you do have a pro staff, other sponsors, people who have been really supportive on this journey. So, have at it for about 90 seconds here, guys.
We've got a lot of people that have helped us along the way. I mean, Tim and I started this company, but we couldn't have done it without, our family and friends that have helped us. Tim and I both have full-time jobs, and our wives have helped, our mother-in-laws, and all kinds of people have helped us get to where we're at currently, as well as all the retailers and just making those cold calls and them trusting in us and our product and bringing us on into their stores. And we're about 20 some retailers currently, and that's about all we can take on at this point. But if there's other retailers out there that are interested, please get a hold of us. And just to name a few of those, Advanced Archery, Apple Tree Archery, Bayside Archery, Broken Arrow Archery, Butch's Tri-City, Critters Wolf River Sports, Ed's Boat Superstore, Hain Meats, Hardcore Outfitters, Hunter's Edge, Lena Swamp Archery, Moldy's, Old 45 Archery, The Real Shot, Rip and Lips Tackle Company, Shields All Sports, Sportsman's Exchange, Tuffy's Outpost, and then, we've got some wonderful people. Kelly Lawrence, who's our graphic artist, who's done the wonderful work for us out in California. Bart T. Prawl, Deer Diary, has done some social media kinds of things for us. Flaming Sticks is one of the groups that we sponsor, along with Nature Wolf Outdoors, which is in South Carolina. So we've given product out to some of these groups out there that have used our product and have harvested deer and have had great experiences, and they give us feedback on the product we send out to them. So just a lot of people. We haven't done this on our own, and we like to pat ourselves on the back, but there's all kinds of people out there that we would also need to pat on the back that have helped us get to where we're at currently.
Well, guys, go ahead.
Just to add on that real quick, we want to thank all the people who have given us that opportunity. And there are people from all over the United States who have ordered our product. We want to say thank you to every one of those people for giving us a shot, because without them, this company doesn't go.
On behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous, Steve and Tim, thank you for spending time with us today and taking the chance at an opportunity not only to bring a product and make a couple bucks, but really to bring a product out that can make a difference on how we all hunt, and whether if we're hunting a doe that's giving us fits, or hunting Mr. Wonderful, or just taking a kid out to get his first whitetail ever. I look forward to trying that product, and I just salute you for, the tenacity to start a business, because as our listeners know, it's not easy. So on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous, we wish you a very Merry Christmas, and look forward to chatting with you down the line, and maybe doing some promotion stuff with you in the future.
Sounds awesome. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and thank you for having us on this evening. Appreciate it very much.
As your host at Whitetail Rendezvous, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your time with us today. I look forward to sharing with you in the next episode more whitetail hunting tips, techniques, and stories. Until then, keep the sun at your back, the wind in your face, and always be patient.
If you have any tips, comments, or suggestions, or what we can do to improve, because we're here to serve you, let us know. Thanks for listening to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast at www.whitetailrendezvous.com.